We're not going to tell you. You have to come back tomorrow morning. But we're going to tell you what the return on investment on internet leads is. You might be a little surprised.
Even in that example, Gary, you look at that 15%, it's like, well, if I'm only getting 15% on this investment, why wouldn't I just refer that business out?
Yeah. Mistake number 4, don't build their business around a database. Your database is your business, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. You know, it surprises me so much. You know, I go to the grocery store, right? And I have a membership, right? John, we go to the grocery store, we put in our number, and they give us a discount, right? What's crazy about that is I never hear from the grocery store. I never hear from them, right? They know who I am. They never call me. They never show up at my house. They never offer, right? They don't do anything. They don't treat me like I'm a member of anything, right? And you're going, I go to a restaurant. They take my credit card. They know exactly who I am. They don't call me. They don't write. They don't come see me. No, they don't treat me like I'm a member of anything. It drives me crazy. Why? Here's the thing is the internet, the reason why it's gaining such power in the world of business is because the internet captures that information and does start to treat you like a member, right? You join Amazon, oh my gosh, you can even be a Prime member, right? You have all this membership that you can have with Amazon, and they literally treat you, you go, man, they treat me better than the retailer down the street. Now, whose fault is that? Whose fault is it?
The retailer.
Yeah, exactly. So, same applies to you and I. It's our responsibility, okay? We've got to have a database. And it's really simple. We have a database so that we can put the Mets and the haven't Mets into that database. By the way, we have to have a number. And what do I mean by that? It means we need to know, it's a mathematical formula. Business success is a mathematical certainty. Yes or no?
Yes.
Say yes. Yes. Why? Because we know based on conversion rates how many people we have to have in a database that would yield X amount of income. And it wouldn't matter again if it's a grocery store, it wouldn't matter if it's a restaurant, it wouldn't matter it doesn't matter. If we're a sports team, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all predictable based on the database. Outside the database, it's not as predictable. Okay? So we want a database and we want to have a number. So we did the math real quick, and here's kind of roughly, if you're only getting one piece of business from an individual, okay, remember people move approximately every 10 years, then you would need about 13,000 people in a database if you wanted to gross 2.5 million and then run a tight business, net 40% and net $1 million. Oh, by the way, if you could get them to do business with you and get a referral, and again, going through your conversion percentages all the way down, the database, you might get by with 6,000 or so. And you're going, golly, that's a lot of people. Not really. Not really, it's not. I mean, if you looked up and said, okay, worst case, if I added one person to my database every day, that'd be 365 in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
So in 10 years, what would I have, 3,000?
Every 3 years, so you get about 1,000.
Okay, so in 20 years, I would have my 6,000 plus names, and I'd be a millionaire.
Boom.
So I would start out at age 24, and 20 years later, I'm a millionaire. If I could add 2 people a day to my database, I'm a millionaire in 10 years at age 34. If I can add 4 a day,
Now you're down to 5.
5 years, I'm a millionaire. When you wake up in the morning, what is your lead generation goal? Fill the database. That's the game. Fill the database. To me, it would be like a mathematical formula. If I wanted to start a restaurant, I would estimate how many people I have to come and how often they would come, right? I'd do the math, come all the way back to how big my database would be. I would draw a circle around the population. I would begin to go out either door to door. I don't care what I did. I would call them, go door to door, use the internet, whatever. And I would know I'm going to.
You just told us, if you were going to theoretically start a real estate company, you might figure that for every 20 people that you taught, you'd get one new agent. So how many agents do I have to teach this year in order to get my goal? So I have a database of people that I market my classes to, boom, boom, boom. It's just, when you have the numbers, you can dictate what activities you have to do to hit the number.
Jay, my database has 130,000 people in it.
How many?
130,000. Think about, I'm trying to draw an analogy for you. I want you to understand that you and I do exactly the same thing. We do the same exact thing. I really hit it hard. Okay? You can too. Right, number 3, you segment it into Mets and haven't met. It's real simple. When you meet someone, right, they're a Met. When you're marketing to someone you haven't met, it's a haven't met. So we have basically 3 different ways that we approach things, right? I go out and we used to call it 12 direct, but research says it's actually 19 to connect. So a little different language than we've used in the past. But you saturate people that you haven't met. At any point in those 19 touches that you actually connect with them, bam, you 7 to cement, right? And you dump them into your Met database, and then it's 36 to convert them to a customer. And that actually is the game. We could make that a board game.
Gary, I think another good point on this is consistently, I was talking about this with Vicki this morning, whenever we talk to top agents and we ask them what's the most effective touch you can have for a client, it's always the phone call. They do it at every stage. And so sometimes we get in this conversation of, what do I have to do to not have to talk to anybody? But it's really the exact opposite. How many people can I talk to and how many relationships can I be building on a systematic basis?
It's establishing that two-way communication back and forth. That's so key.
Yes, I think that's right. Vicki and Garrett. So let me introduce, make sure you know who's up there besides Jay and I, and that's Garrett and Vicki. And we kind of make up your millionaire real estate agent team. We're probably the most formidable 4 people researching agent real estate business in the industry. We are ninjas. And we spend all our time doing that. It's literally what we do. The phone calls, the research, the statistics, ad nauseum, right? Now, Garrett, you've been with us how long?
About 3 years.
So did you know anything about real estate sales prior to that?
I knew absolutely nothing.
And here's the interesting thing about that is, I would pit him against anyone in this room. I'd invite you up here right now, right? We'll put a couple $1,000 on the wager for the fun of it and see if you know more than he knows. And you know what? I'm betting on him every time, Dave. It doesn't take that long if you immerse yourself.
Right.
If you immerse yourself, it doesn't take that long to learn this business. And it kind of gets fun, doesn't it?
It is fun. It's really interesting. I honestly didn't think it would be as interesting as it was when I came in. But the more I started learning, the more I was getting into it and thinking, wow. And sometimes you think, why don't I become a real estate agent? Something along those lines. It's a great opportunity.
No, he's telling the truth. I mean, you get out of college and you go, I'm going to research real estate. That doesn't sound too. You're going to do what? Yeah, I'm going to go talk to real estate agents and research real estate agents. But it's kind of cool, isn't it? Yeah. Particularly when you associate the research with lives. And you begin to realize that what we're talking about is your lives. And we're looking at them and we're trying to find breadcrumbs and roadmaps for you, right? And that's what it becomes. It's like unlocking a puzzle and trying to get to the key nuggets inside. That's what it's like.
It's usually what 100 people have in common. You interview, and suddenly a pattern emerges.
Patterns emerge. That is so smart. Patterns emerge. Yes, that's correct. And we want to do that. So, by the way, you have to actively seek referrals from your database. Jay, tell us what this is.
This came out of just kind of an aha that a lot of people were, saying, I haven't used my database, I'm not reaching out as often as I should. They were great at getting new business, but they weren't following up with their past clients. And so we just played with a couple of graphs. So the 17%, if you look at the NAR median, 17% of buyers and sellers actually used the realtor that had helped them before. And so we just put some very average assumptions. If they grew their new business by 10% a year, if they got one referral every 10 years, they could grow a pretty respectable business in 20 years.
Yep.
But if you look at the stats of what they definitely would use the same realtor, it jumps to 70% on average. And if you change those numbers, it becomes exponential. Instead of 20 years to 119 units, it's 20 years to almost 3,000. And it's the opportunity people are missing by not reaching out systematically and asking for that repeat and referral business.
Yes, 20 years to 119 units, 20 years to 2,900. And these are NAR statistics.
Yep, and those numbers, we're going to have people on the stage this afternoon that are like year 8, year 9, that are way ahead of the pace. So you look at that and you're like, no way.
Let me tell you something.
It's very true.
I'm definitely a smart aleck, and you know that. But the truth of the matter is there are people within our own organization that are outpacing what Keller Williams itself has done.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, truly, and we have people that we work with today that, and I make the comment to them, I said, you're going to pass, inside our own company, you're going to actually be bigger than we are, if that's even humanly possible. And financially, it's possible. And at first they scratch their head, and then they realize, oh my gosh, it's actually true. Oh yeah, they're definitely at this point outpacing anything that the Keller Williams organization itself ever did. But you got to play the odds. You got to play the statistics in order to do that. Okay. Mistake number 5: don't focus on listings. This is a huge mistake. And if you go after internet business, what percent of leads actually turn into listings off the internet?
That's really low.
4%.
Yeah, it's 4%. 4%. So this is a challenge in the internet age, isn't it? As we gravitate towards that, this is the challenge. By the way, if the search portals could figure out a way to turn the search portal into a listing machine, you'd be gone. They figured out how to get buyers, right? Right? 89% of buyers use the internet. 89%.
Yeah, but you said it earlier. Whoever controls the listing controls who gets paid.
You better not make that mistake. Better not make it. Okay. So the 2 issues there is hold your lead generation accountable to get listings. Listings are the product that we help people buy and sell. Whoever controls the product controls the market and the income derived from it. Listings are the best source for buyers. That's why the search portals need your what? They need your listings. Why? Exactly. Your listings are their financial model. Okay? Listings are the most profitable part of the business, by the way. There's a higher rate of return for working on listings than working with buyers financially. Okay? We don't want to give it up. Step number 2, you have to focus on a minimum number of appointments, right? So you work through your math again. If you wanted to net $1 million, how many people would you have to talk to a week? And for me, this is the simplicity of it. If I just go out and talk to literally 7 people a week about listing and 7 people about buying, folks, it's going to happen. So my entire life, my entire lead generation is judged by how many appointments I go on. Essentially, 13 to 14 appointments a week talking to buyers and sellers is going to generate a net income approaching $1 million. So that becomes the game. And the question is, what lead generation sources do I have to use to get there?
Love that slide. I shared this with you. We had a staff meeting, and John Davis was walking us through the 4 conversations and how our company is driven by appointments. And Chris just shared, he'd gotten a call from his team that they closed 5 houses that day. And he goes, I just can't help but think. And I had to ask, well, how many appointments did you set today? Because you get it. Like, that's the only number that matters is appointments, and it drives everything.
He's a sick man. Yeah. Well, he understands. He's doing the happy dance on the good news, and he knows that if he didn't get the others, there will be no more happy dances. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Mistake number 6, don't master hiring. So here's what happens to us. And you can hire people at any stage of your business you want. A lot of people go, but I don't have a lot of money. I want to share with you, when I got in the real estate business, I didn't have any money. I literally had none, right? And I started selling, I started earning money. And the second I started earning money, instead of buying things or whatever, I hired an assistant. And I hired her for 2 hours a day. And she was a UT student, and she came in, and she only did, in her 2 hours, one thing. And that was manage my lead generation process for me. Because I know details have to be done, I don't like to do them, and I needed someone to do them for me. Okay? Paid her, Base wage, 2 hours a day, beautiful thing, right? So let's talk about this.